Howdy ho. How is everybody? I'm good. I'm on my first of 4 days off, so just having a nice little healthy self-care day. Taking care of the home, all that. Gonna get into some little creative projects. I was gonna go on a walk, but it looks like it might have a little thunderstorm, but it's only supposed to be an hour, so I might get to go walking after all. Sometimes the weather just waits for me to do my thing. Sometimes it does its thing really quick, and then we sync up. Okay, so we have 3 cards that kind of wanted to come out together. So we're here for our weekly romance oracle reading. Basically, generally, always just taking a look inward to see how we can improve our approach in our relationships and our love lives. So the first card out is burden. I'm going to read these as a group here, and then followed by perception. Looks like the path that we're choosing to take and what we're noticing on the path, right? The burden, the perception, and the dragon, power and strength. So part of the sort of lesson playing out this week is to be able to filter life through the lens of good eye versus bad eye. The perception of tree of life consciousness versus tree of good and evil consciousness, which you could say tree of life consciousness versus tree of lack consciousness. Looking at any given situation with eyes of love and a higher vantage point, rather than our lower egoic nature. So we can look at our love lives and feel like we have all these overpowering, overwhelming hurdles and challenges to overcome. Or even, some of the tasks of putting yourself out there can be really daunting, right? So the perception of like this journey, being on this path, it's like a burden. It's hard. And even though when you get in relationships, right, once you get past the honeymoon phase, it's proactive effort. It's work. It shouldn't be work in the way that it's like it's dysfunctional, it doesn't work. You're always trying to combat each other, and you're always at war, and it's always such a hard task to keep it together. That's just a sign of not a good match. But even if both people are like 100% all in, life's going to bring challenges, and it's going to, trigger each individual within the relationship. And, you're going to have to like dance around, each other's needs through life and go back and forth and giving and receiving. Right. So, even that journey can come with, it's not always perfect. Right. So having the strength to meet life every day, knowing that there's going to be challenges and there's going to be, curveballs thrown at us, and the perception that we adopt as we navigate these inevitable challenges will kind of inform the journey that we're on. It's going to inform what we notice. And you can either feel like when you go on a hike through a trail, and you go out to see the beauty of nature, and you want to go see the foliage and the birch trees, you can really be weighed down by like if there's altitude change and you're struggling to breathe, or if you're out of shape and you're having to go up a bunch of hills and stuff. And so you can be kind of bogged down by the battle of the trail itself, the hike itself, and not enjoy the journey. Right? So trying to enjoy our romantic life and bring a playfulness to it instead of, feeling all the weight of our past, maybe feeling like a tiredness in our soul, and finding that, focusing on all the beauty and the fun and the riches to be had from the journey, rather than kind of focusing on the hard parts. Right? Because even at the best case scenario, sometimes that's why love is scary, because, we're opening up our heart and we're being vulnerable. And, we know that life is on this material world. Everything is temporary, right? Whether it be through age or, some kind of unforeseen instance, or, you know, break up, or, you know, live your whole lives together and one of you eventually is going to come to their expiration date, right? God forbid. There's going to be, you know, nothing is permanent, nothing lasts forever. So it's like you can feel like you can have this unconscious fear that it's, you know, it's more pain than it is beauty sometimes. So it takes power and strength to persevere and to stay focused on the right things, and also to be able to have the strength to practice restriction, and keep boundaries, and practice self-worth along the way, and keep your standards. Because it can also be, you know, feel like the path is too burdensome to bear alone. And you can think that you can't do it by yourself, and maybe we can't, but we have the Creator by our side. But if we look at the wrong thing to be our source, then it becomes a burden in and of itself. But if we perceive the path alone to be too burdensome, then we can not see ourselves as whole, and then settle for less than what we really want, because we're anxious to be with someone because we think that it's going to make the journey easier. And when you're with the wrong person, it does not make it easier just because you're with someone. It's almost easier to be alone than it is to be stuck with the wrong person. And then our last card is Swan, the transformation, trusting psychic gifts. So I love this. This is like right along with the messages that we've been getting ever since the Capricorn full moon workshop, and like all the messages of the week. They've been about kind of like taking a time out to shift the way we see things, and re-examine our consciousness, and let that sort of like take root and inform the transformation that's coming from that internal shift and that internal change. So I think that this is good. I think that we have like the dragon here at the one end of the reading, and we have, how is it? It's on the ground, like, okay. So well, they're bookended, so I'm trying to look like it's reversed in the okay, it's kind of like this. So you have the dragon at the front of the reading, power, strength, guarding the way, guarding that path, and then you have transformation on the other side of it. So it's like maybe you've got to walk into the path facing the dragon, right? The dragon of fears, insecurities, instability, things in your life that are kind of not ready, that are holding you back. You know, are there aspects of your life, if somebody were to say, like if you were to meet somebody tomorrow, right, and things were going well, in the next week or so, could you have someone buy your house, like not buy your house, like purchase your house, but like, can you have would you have somebody be able to drop by, you know, and it be sort of like visitor ready, you know? What about you, your person? What about your daily routines and schedules? Do they allow to bring another person in? So like, look at the challenges and the blocks and the obstacles that are guarding the progression along the path, right? So we're walking up along the path and we're coming to this dragon, right? So behind the dragon, what did we have? Perception and burden. So it almost looks like this is bigger than we can handle, or it's insurmountable. I'm unlovable. I'll never find anyone. I'm too weird. I have, you know, chronic uniqueness. I can't, you know, no one's gonna match me. I'm never gonna find my match. I'm in the wrong part of the country to do that. Whatever it is, right? So getting past the dragon of the perception of whatever it is that we're perceiving as being too heavy, too hard, too big to overcome, too big of a burden, right? And so on the other side of slaying this dragon, or outsmarting this dragon, or besting this dragon, we come out of the woods having transformation and trusting our psychic gifts. So follow your discernment, follow your instincts, but know when your past conditioning and your subconscious programming are coming up to make you reactive and push you into old patterns, and when you're actually paying attention to your instincts. When are you paying attention to your patterns, and when are you paying attention to your instincts? Because remember, we are in Mercury Retrograde in Cancer. So it is not like you will go back into the thoughts of nostalgia, and people could come back surfacing around, and you could have the potential to play out old patterns that feel familiar. You might mistake the familiarity for discerning, right? So just be very mindful. You know, these 3 weeks are like vibrationally three of the most negative weeks of the year. So it's not good to plant any seeds during this time anyway, because even in the best case scenario, they're going to be seeded with a little bit of chaos and negative energy. So like the key to getting through these 3 weeks of challenge and heightened intensity and volatility is just to try to avoid any kind of rash reactive behavior, any impulsive behavior. Try to resist like temptation to be baited into pretty much anything. Just try to be low key, get on the lamb, go into a hermitage, go into your solitude if you can, go into inward transformation, because on the outside, on the other side of this like portal, huge expansion can be waiting on the other side. Big shifts, big surprises. But it's just being patient and keeping things on ice for the next 3 weeks. This is just not an ideal time to, you know, sign any big contracts or do anything haphazardly, because the odds are rife with fecundity for disaster, chaos, calamity. All right, well, I'm going to continue on, just be bopping through my day and through my chores and needs and to-do list. Oh, yes, somebody reached out and asked about like me, when am I gonna find time to do some like behind the scenes stuff and like unboxing and like crystal videos. And I was like, that's a good idea. It sounds fun. And I'm always open to receiving input, but I usually am buried in the content that I intend to make and I'm trying to make. So don't take it personally if you don't see that kind of content being pumped out. It's just that I've got, right now, my big priority and focus is focused on Substack and things that are going to be growing that. But it's always good to hear what you guys want to see and the kind of content you want me to make. It's just that like focusing on like just material stuff like that isn't usually my focus. Like showing what decks I have, or I feel like that doesn't really give you any kind of like value that you can apply to your life other than just like seeing a cute deck that you might want. And then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can like give you guys some decks that I find to be particularly useful and helpful, although usually I use those, that's why I'm using them. And then as far as crystals go, I could do a crystal video, I guess, but I think too, it's just like it usually isn't, you know, in the flow with like the kind of content that I make, even though those are popular videos. It just feels like it would be kind of like out of left field for me to do one. But you know, let me know if you guys want my thoughts on crystals or cards. And then the like unboxing thing, I don't have any money, so I don't order anything. So everything's already unboxed. And behind the scenes, you'll hear creators talk about this in videos to creators, but it's those process videos that are so involved and time consuming. I mean, they look nice to watch, but you have to like set up all these like shots and then like pretend to do all these things while you're doing them and then go back and edit. So those are usually the things that really burn people out and suck up all their time, because those are in popular demand, but in kind of trying to like meet that popular demand, they burn themselves out and they don't really get to do the meat of what they wanted to do in the first place. So I hope that explains like why I may or may not take that on. But yes, thank you for an idea, because that does sound like fun. But I don't know. I feel a lot of pressure right now about the Substack and Patreon stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I've had other people ask me for things too. So I kind of keep a list going. So by all means, you guys throw the ideas out there. Let me know what you'd like to know about. But sometimes I just have to be keep myself from going off on side tracks, because I need to not get distracted by the shiny object. That was a long roundabout way of saying thank you for the suggestion, and I will put it on ice for now. I'm awkward, guys. I'm awkward. That's okay, though. A lot of us are awkward. Until tomorrow.